Hey, welcome to the almost Christmas weekly wrap up. I should have like a Christmas tree, but I haven't even put one up this year. I've been completely lazy. I was going to do a Twitter poll that, or an X poll that, do I need to put a Christmas tree up if I've got everyone coming for Christmas? Can I just like put some decorations around and then I don't have to put a Christmas tree down? I don't know. I'm not feeling very Christmassy this year. Anyway, so hi, Sadi, in the chat. Thank you for always being there. And I have, how do we say that? Noom Makith. Noom? Is that your name? Noom? Yeah, hi. So we could have a look at Bitcoin. It's pretty unexciting at the moment. In fact, all that's happened is literally we've seen some arguments on X and on social media about what's happening. Not a lot. It's going sideways. So if we have a look at liquidity in the markets, I think about 6 weeks ago, Wintermute, who's a liquidity company who provides liquidity for the market, blew up some trades really badly, and that's been affecting the market a lot. Now, a lot of those that capital, I believe, has been recouped. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I was seeing a lot of sort of chatter that had happened. So if that's the case, maybe we've still got a couple of days to get a Santa rally. Doesn't look possible right now. There's no liquidity. But let's have a look. Let's see if something's going to happen. We still have a lot of everything lining up. MACD easing sell pressure. We're starting to flip up on the indicators. Low stock RSI. This is the weekly. So this is all really low. Bear divergence. But it's coming down to the bottom, which normally shows that we've got, hidden bull coming. It's starting to flick up. So that means there's a momentum change. So, yeah, that's, if we go to the daily, this is nothing that I didn't say last week, by the way. So if you are bored and going, oh, she's just saying the same thing. Well, nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. So we're looking at the same chart. We're really sort of hollowing out on the daily. On the, we're losing sell volume, and which is a good thing. But we're still going sideways we haven't got excessive volume coming in. We haven't had a tether print forever. And that does say something about what's going on now. We're seeing occasionally USDC be printed. Obviously, there's a lot more volume kind of in Europe needing that sort of USDC there. But it's just sort of, there's not a lot happening. Now, if we want to look at this 12-month futures release on the 28th of December, and I was looking into those today, and from what I can see, there's about $26 billion in futures. There might be more. I haven't looked at all the sites, but from what I've seen today, there's $26 billion in futures, and that's huge. So that's the 28th of this month. So they may push out until around the 1st. Let's have a look. What is that? 28th is a Sunday, so it can release on a Sunday, but it may push out and release on the Monday, sort of Tuesday, towards the end of December. So yeah, that we might see a really good new year, or it might go the other way. So it depends. So if we go back to the weekly, I'm going to go up to the monthly actually, because not a lot has happened this year. We can see that this on the monthly. It's not a complete candle, but normally we get one more wave down after this pattern. It can go either way. It is an indecisive candle, and so it could go up and then down. But either way, that could be how the futures release at the end of this month. When we're going back and we have a look at the start, let's go back to January. We've actually closed lower. We could actually close lower. That it's not unheard of for a year to do that. We have had several years where that has happened. We just need to get some liquidity in. When we go to the monthly chart, it is looking incredibly bearish. Doesn't mean that can change. Like, momentum changes quite often. For all the super bears out there, because monthly charts have crossed bearish, they're all like, okay, this is definitely bearish. But there's not enough indicators on the lower sort of time frames to indicate that that's guaranteed, that we're completely in a bear cycle. So when we're in a bear cycle, there's a lot of things that line up, and that's not happening right now. So that's why I'm still sort of sitting on the fence. Okay, if this is bearish, then we're dropping down below that 74. Sort of 445 is on most sort of charts and exchanges. Could go down as low as 74,400 without kind of breaking pattern. But that's also the retest of this region here. So it's retested at this point. It's retested at what I call the wave one high. So, it can retest up to 4 times in that same region. And, everyone's worried that if we go up here, and I'll show you what they're talking about and why it's not anything to worry about at the moment. So this is the alternate pattern we're looking at, where, we've got the inverse, the head and shoulders, and, that's kind of coming down. So if we measure that and we get, traditional sort of patterns, and we go, okay, well, if we drop that down, we're sitting at 24K. If that pattern plays out completely, we've got some pretty strong support around this region, this upper 74 region. So, we do need to break down through that before we get to the lower level. So, that hasn't, as of yet, when we look over here, we haven't broken that level yet. So, it doesn't appear that that's a thing that we're just going to instantly break that level, because normally levels are tested several times, like up to 4 times before they break. It's had one test, one. So to say that on the second test it's going to break just doesn't make sense to me. So when we're looking at this, we've got 1 test here, 2 tests here, 3 tests. It's like, maybe, but I don't think so. I really don't think so. So when we go to Elliott wave, there's several different patterns that could be in play here. And it takes us into, an extended kind of sideways pattern. So if we're looking at this and we're going, okay, this is our wave 1, we're going to hold. So we could go into, a WXY. So we've got a W coming up here, an X, and then a Y coming down, and it could truncate and do a double bottom. So that's 1. So this would be 5 waves here, and then it's coming all the way down. So if this is bullish, once we get to this point where we're at that sort of 108K sort of region, 106 to 108 is kind of where we've got a wave projection that could be a wave 1. within the next pattern, like truncated. So that makes sense with what is happening at the moment with the lack of liquidity for what is happening towards the end of this month with those futures releasing. So that's a possibility. So if we're looking at that, we can go into, hang on, let me delete that. We can go into extended wave patterns. So I'm just going to drop this down to a daily again, because we get a better idea of what the patterns are when we're looking at the daily, because we've got a little bit more information. So this is our top, obviously. We've come back down. We potentially have an ABC. So if we take that as an ABC and this wave is complete, you know, there's a few different combos that we could be doing. So we've got a WX, WX, YZ. So this is like an equilateral triangle, so to speak. So if we get a triangle forming and it's an equilateral triangle, we still have no direction. Everyone's going to be arguing. The pattern's not going anywhere. And then I'm going to turn that yellow so we can see it. You know, literally they're going to be arguing for months that this is bearish, this is going down, and this still holds the longer term pattern for this to go up. So until we break that 74,400, this is just a correction for me. It's just one of the most boring corrections we've had in this particular cycle, but it's not anything that we haven't had in previous cycles. So, you know, we go past and we see how long these went for. So, you know, this is 7th of June at this level, 2022, right through to, you know, January. So that's like 7 months. We're sitting 7 months in a sideways pattern before we got a bottom, before we got momentum happening. And then we moved from that point, you know. And for anyone that says we didn't really get a bull market, it's like, okay, that's 700%. It's still, it may not have been as huge as what Nvidia or, you know, AI did in traditionals. It's still 700%. You know, if you were leverage trading that and you were 10 times, it's 7,000%. I wouldn't probably recommend that. You know, you'd eat it up a lot in fees, but it's still, it's a lot of money. So, you know, there's still money in this market. There's just, as the market matures, we need to become more patient with, you know, what we're looking at, where we're entering, so that, you know, we've got a lot more protection, a lot more profits coming in rather than losses. So when we do look at this, you know, this is a potential pattern. There's patterns, of course, that are super, super bearish. And, you know, we can look at those, but we're not there yet. So, you know, we are bullish until this region breaks. So, you know, we can start doing like waves down. We still have to go up, though. This is the thing that the bears are not really sort of acknowledging, that a lot of these patterns still go up at some point. They don't just go down. So, you know, regions need to be tested. They need to, you know, sort of move and go sort of somewhere. They go up and down, not just down, down, down when we've got a bear market. So there's too much accumulation happening in this region for this to be super, super bearish right now. There's a lot of accumulation happening if you go on chain and you have a look at all of that. So, you know, it's not looking completely ugly as far as I'm concerned. You know, if this happens, it still goes up and down. It just doesn't go down. So, and for that to happen, we've got tests on several different levels. So this is 63. This is a longer term support. Now that breaking down to that region, actually sort of we start breaking down into previous regions in the Elliott wave. So that kind of breaks the thesis that, we're going up at this point. So, hitting down to 63, yeah, we could come back up and retest these regions here. So if we went straight down to 63 and we started doing an ABC correction, say we got one more wave down, it went straight down to this region, we're going to come up and hit these resistance regions at some point. And then, we could get a truncated wave at 68 or continue down to these 40 regions like we keep seeing the bears making. We haven't even broken the first pivot yet. So I don't even know why that's a thing. So, when we sit there and we go, this is the only way, it's like there's many different ways that this could happen. And it's like, right now we have to take one step at a time. Yeah, I've got some bullish charts out there. Yes, I've just shown you some bearish charts. I don't think we're heading to 63. So Ray's just like 63. It's like, no, that was just for the drama for the bears. We haven't even broken that 74K mark. So, when we're looking and going back, these regions, like this was one of the painful sideways, like it hardly moved, and everyone was so bearish and it was still going back. There was a really, really big, I can't remember his name, Tony somebody or other, somebody put it in the comments, but he was adamant that Bitcoin was going to $1,000 at this. I think it might have been when we went to 3,000. He would not buy because he was adamant that Bitcoin was going to $1,000. So Bitcoin has a really like good way of humbling people. You say one prediction, it goes, no, that's not the prediction. I'm going to go this way. So, oh, you're short and you're heavy short, and oh, sorry, I'm going to liquidate you. So that's normally what happens. So when we have a look at this region, so this is like 7th of December 2018, we kind of stayed in this range here until about, the 3rd of April 2019. So that's like, in a really tight region, like over a year. So I'm not saying that's going to happen now, but it could. Like, I think you pretty much kill the market, but you can see we've got a pretty tight channel sitting here, and it's just sort of trading in that range, and it didn't cross down to that $1,000. So it just continued to trade within that range. Now, this, if we, take this as potentially we've got a bottom here, and, we put some angles on this and we go, okay, this is kind of what we're looking at, and we've got a flag forming. These are all hypothetical because nobody actually knows yet. And we go, okay, we've got a rising flag, like a rising flag, and we're going, okay, we could be seeing something like this. We don't see even 74 at this point because it's a rising flag and we're rising. So, at this point, the C wave, and we're going, okay, this is held here. This is starting to look really bullish. So this is 87. So, you can't sort of sit there and go, this is the only way, because at this point in a correction, there's about 500 different ways this could go. So probably not that many. There's probably about 10 different patterns, but there's lots of different patterns within those patterns. And when we track the levels, that 74K is a really key level. Now with ETH, when we go over to there, we got 5 waves within this pattern. So, we've got 5 waves here. This is a weekly, and potentially this could be an ABC, which is a bearish pattern longer term. Let me find my arrow. And after that C wave, it will probably come down. Now, if it breaks below that 2,623, this is longer term bearish. If it holds the 2,623, that's a, truncated wave. It's a good sign. Now, ETH got a daily buy in this area. It still has a daily buy on my indicators. So I've got certain indicators that give me buy signals. And, we've got easing sell pressure here. Yes, we had sell pressure in this region. Yes, as I showed you last week, that's fine. We might get one last wave down after we go sideways for a little bit. This candle here on the weekly says, yes, we're going down. We did that. We've come back up. We're now sideways again. So that's kind of where we're sitting. Okay, are we in a B wave and we've completed that? Or have we got, a couple more waves sideways down and just some chop at the moment? So, and then we've got the C wave coming up. But if that C wave, when we get that correction down, if we hold at that wave one high at this region here, 3,350, that's no longer a C wave. So that then becomes an impulse, because we've just held wave one and wave four can't cross. They sometimes cross with a wick, but that's not very often. So potentially we've got a wave pattern that's like 1, 2, we're coming up. I'll put some fibs on this in a sec. And we're holding that wave one. So then we've got a completely different pattern on ETH. We've got a bullish pattern happening. And, that's when we're sort of changing levels. Okay, so a third wave will normally go to the 0.5 to the 618. So to that golden zone. Occasionally, if we get super bullish, it could go to the 786. So that's $5,000. So we're getting to that golden zone. We're retesting that 4,948 sort of region. And then we're coming back down. And that's when everyone's going to be calling, okay, ETH's dead again. ETH is in a bear market. It was just a death rattle. And all of a sudden we're going down. So, depending on where this third wave lands, will depend on where the fifth wave lands. So it might go to the 786. We get a wave extension. It's looking really super huge. We're going to 1.236. This wave goes to a 0.9. This wave is holding higher because at this point we're getting super bullish and we're heading to the 1.618. We're up at $8,000. So, when we're looking at hypotheticals and we're doing wave projections, that's the point where we're going, okay, we have held levels. So because we've held levels, we're not bearish yet. We're not bullish yet, but we're not bearish yet. So we can look at several different patterns as to where this is going and what it is doing. So, when we flip some of these patterns, we've got people saying, okay, we've crossed on the weekly. It's got to be, going down. But you see here, we crossed here on the weekly. We came and we swooped up. So what's to say that, this pattern here is not just temporary and we're just swooping up again and we're coming up like this and we're just like going to do that forever on ETH. So, there's so much infrastructure going on ETH that's a potential. So when we're looking at hypotheticals, we need to look at both structures. Okay, if it breaks down at this 2,623 and we take it back at this point, we kind of, we did pretty much a double top at this point, and we take some of this stuff off and we go, okay, so where are we sitting within the pattern here overall? So, it's quite a sort of a choppy kind of ugly pattern. Is this still a bearish pattern? Is it a bearish pattern overall? or is it just a really, really choppy, like, ETH is always an ugly pattern. So the uglier that it is, and if you've been following me for a long time, the uglier the patterns, the harder it goes up. So, once we get super ugly on ETH, that's when we start heading up. Now, when we look at the weekly, we're just starting to turn down, which means maybe we come back down, we test at this point, and then we head up again. So we've got easing sell pressure on the weekly. When we drop it down, go through the time frames, we've got a bit of confusion on the 3-day. We're not looking bullish, bearish. It's sort of a little bit confused in this region. That's kind of how the market is right now. We're waiting. We're just in a holding pattern. Potentially we might get a little bit of a run before Christmas, but I do think once we get to the 28th and we get all of those futures releasing, we're going to know which way direction is. So, whether we're sort of exploding upwards or we're dipping down. So, to go back to BTC, we do have a little bit of space to go. We're at 89,000 at the moment to get down to 74. I see charts in the morning where BTC, like it's a 15-minute chart. And I woke up this morning, wow, BTC pumped. And it's like, it was so zoomed in. Hang on, let me see if I can get it. Like, I'm like, wow, look at that candle. And then you go, oh, it's a 15-minute chart. And that's like, yeah, okay. It moved like $1. But yeah, so that's kind of what it is. And it's like, I see that we've got a few comments in there. Let's have a look. And hey, Liz. Hey, Ray. And hey, Oz. Mr. Billionaire. I like that. So let's have a look. So Ray was looking at some screenshots that when to Bitcoin and the price was at 12K and it was going sideways for a long time. So if you had 6K, so if we go back to that chart, I think that was where I was looking at. We sort of had at this point, was it back from 2018, right? So because we kind of sat in that range for quite a long time. Then we sat in this range where it was 6K for quite a long time as well. So, Bitcoin does periods of sideways. This is where we test who's really for crypto and who's just bored and who's just, causing trouble. So there's a lot of troublemakers on X at the moment and all giving me a hard time about my chart. So one in particular said that let's test who's right. So Jesse Olsen. And I replied to him, there's no wrong or right in trading. So there's only stop losses and there's only money management. So, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm definitely right. It's like, no, you're not. You're probably wrong. So, trading, nobody can guarantee that the market is going up or down. We can look at the available information and go, the market's going this way because of this information. So for me, this is a bit more bullish than it is bearish. It's probably a lot more bullish at the moment with the indicators starting to turn. So yeah, for me, it's not over. Can't see any fat ladies singing as yet. I'm probably going to have lots of gifts on my X with that happening. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hey, Joker, how are you? Haven't seen you for a bit. You haven't been on my X harassing me for my phone number. So, yeah, which is funny. So that's kind of Bitcoin in a nutshell. And it's like 28th of this month when all those mega amounts of futures. I will update that because I'm still looking into all the regions that all the futures release. So at the moment there's about 24 to 26 billion, which is a lot of money. So yeah, we shall see where that goes, but that is only literally 6 days away. So hopefully we get some movement before Christmas so that, you know, all you guys have something to do. Or go out and spend some time with your family. Go and touch some grass. Go to the beach. Probably not if you're in the UK or in Europe, it's a bit cold. But maybe go snowboarding. So, and hey, USD, how are you going? Now, there's a couple of alts. I don't know if alts are the way to go right now. They're a bit sort of like crappy and boring, but what have we got? We have got Solana and ADA and XRP. So let me bring some charts up. I will quickly go to a 30-minute break and show you getting started in crypto. Oh, before we go, I need to tell you that we're brought to you by WeX. I forgot to open with that. So, and they provide you guys with free scalp signals, G6 signals in at getting started in crypto, absolutely killing it with his ETH trade just over the past few days. And yeah, the market's been horrible, but we're still making money. So come and join us. It's free. Head to getting started in crypto. Click the free signals here. Here we go. Free scalp signals. Fill out the form. Get started now. Sign up to WeX. Bob's your uncle. Well, he probably is at Christmas. Do that. And we will see you in there. And let me just quickly, I've got to find my ad. I haven't got it prepared. And I will see you in 30 seconds with a few alts. Okay, and welcome back. All right, I've got these done. So I'm going to show you one that I've had over the last few weeks is Litecoin. Now this, I've told you, moves first, normally before Bitcoin moves. You know, it's kind of sitting sideways, pierced this level, headed down to the 0.88. Fib, not ugly, is holding the support, just hugging it. Just, I love you, support. So it's kind of just sitting there going sideways. Everything is sideways. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. Everything is sideways. ADA, now this is the bane of my existence because it keeps just breaking down, which is like annoying because it's one that's hit stop losses a couple of times and I've just given up. So we do have enough waves. I keep saying this, we had enough waves and then it did more waves. So it's gone into an extended pattern. It likely might come up and retest around the sort of 40 cent mark, sorry, and then have one more wave down. So I don't think it's finished as yet. Solana came down, it hit the 0.9, it did a bear flag in this region that we looked at last week. Now it's likely to retest at around 132 over the next day to week, and then maybe have one more wave down if we don't break through this previous support that is now a resistance. So that's kind of where it is for Solana. And XRP didn't open yet. Come on, XRP, you can do it. No, doesn't want to open, doesn't like you guys. So same as ADA, where we're just sort of traveling down. We've got a downtrend channel. It's kind of holding that at the moment. So it's in the bottom of the downtrend channel. We don't want it to drop down, But if it does drop down, we want it to hold 95, and that continues the pattern. So without it being kind of completely ugly. Now, this is a daily, so we look like we're rolling over here, but on the MACD. So it's got some sort of mixed indicators. So there's a bit of confusion in XRP at the moment. We've got MACD's just flipped over on the island positive, and we've got a cross, but it's kind of twirling and curling and not really doing anything at the moment. So yeah, I do think we will see some momentum, coming up over the, the next probably 2 weeks. And then, yeah, hopefully we go in and we finish this, this 9-year. And, if there's, I've got a video, I'll retweet it as well about the 9-year and the snake year. So the snake year doesn't finish until I think sometime in February, but we're coming to the end of this horrible transformation that is endings and new beginnings. So I'm going into a horse year and going into a 1 year. So numerology wise, that's really good. So we're looking forward to that because, everyone I talked to this year has had just a monster year. I don't know anyone that's had a great year. That's absolutely had a fantastic year, but maybe there is. Let me know. But, there's been lots going on. I've spent most of my year just focusing on my business, focusing on getting coin runners made. Oh, I've got some big news coming on that too. I can't tell you yet, but I have got some massively huge news on that. And I'm hoping I'll get it to you before the new year. But lawyers are hard and they take their time. So yeah, but it's really exciting. And I can't share all of this stuff with you guys just yet. And, I'd like to, but I want to make sure we've got all the contracts done first before I start shouting it from the rooftops and then it all falls through. And then I'm like, that didn't happen. So, because it's been a grind this year on that. And that has been one of my hugest priorities, just finding the right people, getting into the right rooms, and hopefully in 2026 we are filming that. So we've got Abby Cornish attached and as the lead, and that's super exciting. And there's some more super exciting news to happen. So yeah, and Ray's just saying it's about to be Capricorn season, which is huge. We've got some, I started talking about this last week, but I follow a lot of the astrologers and everything everywhere. And, I do a lot of my own astrology. And we've had some monster like squares and trines and clashes with planets lately. And, last week was quite hard for a lot of people as well, because we had a Neptune Saturn Sun trine, I think it was, on the new moon. So that was like just mind-numbingly and like melting everyone's brains. So we saw people arguing and stuff on X like every single day, and I'm just like, oh, okay, that's what that stars are doing. So it's hilarious. So Ray's saying there's 10 conjunctions in January. Okay, we need to just like put the covers over and not come out. So yeah, please no. And hey, Natchbar, it's about time you joined me on here. You've been slacking off lately. I don't think you love me anymore. So but yeah, so I think just for January, for the start, while we're the vibes are sort of ending on this horrible 9-year, just stay under the doona. What do you call it in Europe? I always call it a doona because it's a doona and a duvet. Okay, stay under the duvet. That sounds so fancy. Anyway, I'm going crazy here. But yeah, so the market's not done much. Lisa's gone crazy, and that's pretty much how it is. TikTok's going off. for some reason, Instagram suspended me. People like to report me. It's like it's some sort of sport. Anyway, so I haven't had a video up there for a little bit. And that's the reason why, for anyone who's on Instagram and go, Lisa's not posting. But Lisa got suspended for some unknown reason. Not even Instagram knows what it was. And they're like, oh, it'll be back on in 72 hours. 72 hours later, it's still suspended. So we'll see. We'll see what I did. Anyway, I don't talk so much about crypto there because I do get suspended a lot for crypto, but maybe I talked about something somebody didn't like, and yeah, there we go. But anyway, if you like my videos, they're on X a lot more, and they're on TikTok. So head over there. Now, in January, mid-January, I'm going to be starting my courses. So they are ready and available to go. And I'm going to be recording those. I'm going to be recording those with a live audience, and then they will be locked. So you get to see it while it's live, but then it gets locked behind a paywall. So if you miss it, you have to pay for it. So that'll encourage you guys to come and join me while they are live. So you don't have to pay for them later on. But yeah, so that's probably about it for this. It's there's not a lot happening in the market. It's kind of sideways forever and ever and ever. Oh yeah, Andrew Tate. Now I have seen lots of people, like, I'm not an Andrew Tate fan by any frame of the world. Like, he does my mind in with what he says about women. Anyway, but everyone's attacking him for losing the boxing. And I think that's like, he showed up. He's an old dude. He's not a young guy. The guy that he was fighting was younger and heavier. So he kind of had no chance. But, ego probably got the better of him. And but yeah, he turned up, and I think that's a huge feat in itself, and everyone's like, oh, he lost. And it's like, okay, he lost. But yeah, anyway, there's lots of opinions about that, and all from men. So, and I've noticed a lot, men like to argue more than women. So when you tell us that, women are arguing, it's like, have a look at X, because it's all you guys arguing. So yeah, anyway, so thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to me ramble on, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully when we're live next week, we've got those futures releasing, and it's a bit more exciting than just watching charts go sideways. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next Monday. I'll catch you everywhere on all the socials, and back on Instagram when they let me back on. So thank you. And of course, I'll see you at gettingstartedincrypto.com. Join me. Bye.